I sat at the dinner table in the beautiful home I had purchased for my son Brandon 5 years ago. His wife Jessica served pot roast while their two children, ages 8 and 10, chattered about school. Then Brandon looked directly at me and said, "You know what your problem is, Dad? You just eat but don't help. You're basically worthless around here." Jessica smirked. The children went silent. I set down my fork, forced a smile, and nodded slowly. Inside, something broke. Tomorrow, I thought, everything changes. I excused myself from the table and walked down the hallway to the guest bathroom. My hands gripped the marble countertop as I stared at my reflection in the mirror. The face looking back at me belonged to a 67-year-old man who suddenly felt every single one of those years weighing on his shoulders. How did I get here? How did Sunday dinners with my son become sessions of public humiliation? Let me back up. My name is Marion, and 3 years ago, I lost my wife Dorothy to cancer. She was the light of my life for 42 years, and when she died, she made me promise one thing: take care of Brandon, our only son. The boy we had raised together, loved together, worried about together. Before Dorothy passed, I had sold my printing business for $4.3 million. It was a company I had built from nothing over 35 years, and selling it felt like closing a chapter of my life. But Dorothy was sick, and I wanted to spend every moment with her, not managing employees and worrying about contracts. After she died, I did what I thought she would have wanted. I used $2 million to buy this house outright and put it in Brandon's name. Well, that is what I told him. A gift, I said. A place for him to raise his family, to build his future. I kept $1.8 million for myself and gave Brandon $500,000 as startup capital for what he called his consulting business. I moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment across town. Nothing fancy. $800 a month. I drove a 12-year-old sedan that still ran fine. I did not need much. I had my memories of Dorothy, my modest needs, and the satisfaction of knowing I had set my son up for success. Except Brandon was not successful, not even close. After washing my face with cold water, I returned to the dining room. The children had been excused and were upstairs. Jessica was clearing plates, her movements sharp and efficient. Brandon sat scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging my presence. "Brandon," I said quietly, "can we talk for a minute? Privately?" He sighed like I had asked him to move a mountain. "What is it, Dad? Maybe in your office?" He stood up, and I followed him down another hallway to a room he called his home office. Dark wood desk, leather chair, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with books that still had their price stickers on the spines. Books he had never read. I closed the door behind us. "Son, I wanted to ask you about the consulting business. How is that going?" His jaw tightened. "It is complicated, Dad. You would not understand modern business. Try me. I ran a company for 35 years. That was different. Printing is not the same as strategic consulting. The landscape is completely different now." I nodded slowly. "I see. Well, the reason I ask is I need to borrow $20,000 for a medical procedure. Nothing serious, just something the insurance will not fully cover." Brandon's expression changed instantly. Cold, distant. "Dad, I cannot just hand out money like that. I have my own expenses. You should have saved better when you had the chance." "Saved better?" The words came out harder than I intended. "Brandon, I gave you $500,000 3 years ago, and I invested it in the business. It is all tied up. Look, Dad, I cannot help you right now. You need to figure this out yourself." Before I could respond, Jessica appeared in the doorway. She must have been listening. "Marion, I think you are being manipulative by asking Brandon for money. He has been generous enough letting you come to dinner every week. Letting me come to dinner. In a house I bought. With money I provided." I left without another word. The drive back to my apartment took 23 minutes. Every traffic light seemed to conspire against me, giving me more time to think, to feel the hurt spreading through my chest. Not physical pain, though my doctor had warned me about stress. This was something deeper. The pain of realizing that your child sees you as nothing more than an inconvenience. I climbed the stairs to my second-floor apartment. The elevator had been broken for 2 weeks. Inside, I made chamomile tea and sat at my small kitchen table, looking out at the parking lot below. Sleep did not come that night. At 2 in the morning, I pulled out the filing cabinet where I kept all my important documents, bank statements, tax records, receipts. I had always been meticulous about paperwork. Dorothy used to tease me about it, but tonight, that habit was going to serve me well. I spread everything out on the kitchen table. and started going through it systematically. Property tax bills for Brandon's house. I had been paying them. 2 years of statements, $38,000 total. Homeowner's insurance. Also me. Another $12,000. Bank statements showing monthly transfers to Brandon's account. $3,000 every month for the past 3 years. $108,000. I pulled out Brandon's business documents next, the consulting firm he claimed to be running. I had copies because I had helped him set it up, or so I thought. I looked through the corporate filings, the tax returns he had given me to review. Not a single client, not one contract, not $1 of revenue in 3 years. The consulting business was a fiction. I kept digging. Credit card statements I had access to from an old joint account we had opened years ago when Brandon was in college. I had forgotten about it. Apparently, Brandon had not. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, a country club membership that cost $18,000 annually, luxury car payments. All of it funded by my money. All of it while Brandon and Jessica told everyone they were successful, while they took credit for a lifestyle I was financing. My hand started shaking. Not from anger, from something worse. Betrayal. The kind that comes from someone you would die for, someone you have sacrificed everything for, treating you like you are worthless. I thought about what Dorothy would say. I could almost hear her voice. Marion, honey, you have got to stop enabling him. Love does not mean saying yes to everything. But I had promised to take care of him. That was what she asked. Then I remembered something else. A conversation with my lawyer, Thomas, when I bought the house. We were sitting in his office, signing papers, and he had said something. What was it? I found the deed to the house in my files, pulled it out of the folder, read it carefully. There it was. The house was still in my name. Not Brandon's, mine. When I bought it, Thomas had suggested keeping it in my name initially, just for a few months, until we were sure everything was handled correctly for tax purposes. Then we would transfer it. But Dorothy got sicker, and I got distracted, and the transfer never happened. Brandon thought he owned the house. I had told him it was his. But legally, on paper, the house belonged to me. I sat back in my chair. The kitchen clock read 4:30 in the morning. Outside, the first hints of dawn were touching the sky. I made a decision. At 6 o'clock, I called Harold. He was a realtor I had known for 20 years. We had done business together when I owned my printing company. He owed me a favor, and more importantly, he was an early riser. Harold, it is Marion. I need your help. I have a property to sell and I need it done fast. 2 hours later, Harold was at the house, while Brandon and Jessica were out. He walked through every room, took notes, nodded appreciatively at the upgraded kitchen, the finished basement, the landscaped yard. Marion, in this market, I can get you $2.4 million for this place, maybe more. It is in a prime location, and houses like this do not sit long. List it immediately, I said. Cash offers only. I need this done in 2 weeks. Harold raised his eyebrows. That is aggressive. Does Brandon know? I looked at him steadily. Brandon is about to learn what worthless really means. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that usually made me feel hopeful. Not today. Today, I sat in my apartment, drinking coffee that had gone cold, waiting for my phone to ring. Harold called at 10:30. Marion, you are not going to believe this. I listed the property yesterday afternoon, and we already have 3 cash offers. The highest is $2.3 million. My heart hammered. Accept it. Are you sure? We might be able to push for more if we wait a few days. No. Accept it now. I want this done. All right. I will draw up the papers. The buyers are eager. They are relocating from California, need a place quickly. We can close by Friday if everyone moves fast. Friday. 5 days away. I called Thomas, my lawyer. I need you to prepare an eviction notice. Professional, legal, everything by the book. It needs to be delivered Monday morning to Brandon at his office. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Marion, are you certain about this? I have never been more certain of anything in my life. All right. I will have it ready. Tuesday afternoon, I went to the house. I still had keys. Brandon and Jessica were both out, probably at the country club they could not afford. The children were at school. I needed to document the condition of the house for the sale. That was what I told myself. But really, I needed to see it one more time before I let it go. I walked through the rooms Dorothy and I had imagined as Brandon's future. The kitchen where I had pictured family gatherings. The backyard where I had hoped to watch my grandchildren play. I ended up in Brandon's home office. The door was unlocked, and I stepped inside to take photos for the listing. That was when I saw the filing cabinet. It was slightly open, papers visible inside. I should not have looked, but I did. What I found made my blood run cold. Credit card statements in my name, not the old joint account I knew about. These were new cards, 3 of them, $75,000 in debt. Charges for luxury goods, casino trips, expensive electronics, all under my social security number. Bank statements showing withdrawals from accounts I thought were secure. Brandon had somehow accessed them through that old joint account, using it as a backdoor into my finances. Forged checks, actual physical checks with my signature, except I had never signed them. $20,000 here, $30,000 there, made out to cash. A notepad with Jessica's handwriting. Make sure your dad doesn't check the account this month. Keep him distracted. I sat down in Brandon's leather chair, the papers spread across his desk. My son had not just been taking the money I willingly gave him, he had been stealing. Systematically, deliberately. For 3 years. I added it up. Close to $300,000, beyond what I had knowingly provided. The room started spinning. My chest tightened. Sharp pain radiated down my left arm. I fumbled for my phone, nearly dropped it, managed to dial 911. I think I am having a heart attack, I told the operator, giving her the address. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later. The paramedics found me still sitting in Brandon's office, surrounded by evidence of his theft. At the hospital, they ran tests. An EKG, blood work. A doctor with kind eyes told me it was not a heart attack. Stress-induced angina. A warning sign. My heart was under too much strain. You need to reduce stress in your life, she said, prescribing medication. Whatever is causing this anxiety, you need to address it. I lay in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. Brandon did not know I was here. Jessica did not know. Nobody called. Nobody checked on me. I could have died in that office, surrounded by evidence of my son's betrayal, and it would have been hours before anyone found me. They discharged me Thursday evening. I drove myself home, stopped at the pharmacy for the prescriptions I could barely afford, and sat alone in my apartment. Friday morning, I met the buyers at Thomas's office. They were a nice couple, early 50s, excited about the house. They had sold their place in San Francisco and were relocating for work. They had grandchildren visiting often and loved the big backyard. I signed the papers. The transaction was clean, simple, final. $2.3 million deposited into my account. Thomas pulled me aside. The eviction notice is ready. I will have it delivered Monday morning at 9. Brandon's co-working space, correct? Correct. Marion, you know this is going to cause problems. Thomas, the problems already exist. I am just making them visible. That evening, my phone rang. Brandon, hey Dad, Jessica and I are having an anniversary party tomorrow night at the house. Nothing big, just 30 or 40 people. You should come. Try to be helpful this time, okay? Maybe you could park cars or something. Park cars. At a party in a house I had just sold. I will be there, I said. Great. 7 o'clock. And Dad? Dress nicely. These are important people. Saturday evening, I drove to the house I no longer owned. The driveway was full of expensive cars, Range Rovers, Tesla sedans, a Porsche. I parked on the street and walked up the path I had paid to landscape. Inside, the house was full of people I did not recognize. Young professionals, polished and successful looking, catered food on silver trays, a bartender mixing cocktails in the kitchen. Brandon greeted guests at the door like a king holding court. When he saw me, his smile tightened. Dad, good, you are here. Coats go in the front closet. I was not wearing a coat. Jessica appeared in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Marion, there are drinks in the kitchen. Help yourself. But please do not monopolize anyone's time. These are Brandon's colleagues. I wandered through my former house, invisible. People talked around me, through me, never to me. I was the old man in the corner, the father who did not quite fit into his successful son's world. Dinner was served at 8. A long table in the dining room, professionally decorated. Brandon and Jessica sat at the head. I was at the far end, squeezed between 2 women who were too busy talking across me to acknowledge my existence. Brandon stood and tapped his wineglass. Everyone, thank you for coming tonight. Jessica and I are celebrating 10 years of marriage, and we wanted to share this evening with the people who have been part of our journey. He talked about building their life together, about the sacrifices they had made, about hard work and determination, about achieving the American dream through dedication and smart choices. He talked about the house like he had earned it, He talked about their lifestyle like he had built it himself. Not once did he mention me. A woman across the table asked, "Brandon, you must be so proud of what you have accomplished, and your parents must be thrilled." Brandon gestured vaguely in my direction. "That is my father down there. He is retired. Does not do much these days. But we are happy he could join us tonight. Happy I could join them, in my house, bought with my money." While they celebrated a success built on my bank account, another guest turned to me. "You must be so proud of Brandon's success." I set down my fork, looked at Brandon at the head of the table, at Jessica beside him, smiling, at all these people who believed the story my son had told them. "I am extremely proud," I said clearly, "of what is coming next." Brandon looked confused. "What is that supposed to mean?" "You will see on Monday." He laughed it off. "Dad is being mysterious. Must be the wine." I had not touched any wine. I left the party at 9 o'clock. Nobody noticed me go. Monday morning, I sat in my apartment with a cup of coffee, watching the clock. 9 o'clock came and went. 9:15, 9:30. At 9:42 my phone rang. "Thomas, it is done." The process server delivered the eviction notice to Brandon at his co-working space. He was not happy, Marion. He called me immediately, screaming, threatening to sue everyone involved. "What did you tell him?" "The truth. You own the house. You sold the house. He has 30 days to vacate the premises. Everything is legal and proper." "Thank you, Thomas." I hung up and waited. The real storm was about to begin. Noon. My phone started ringing. First call was from Diane, my daughter. She lived 2 states away, called maybe once a month. Now she was on the line, her voice sharp with anger. "Dad, what have you done? Brandon just called me crying. He says you are evicting him and Jessica and the kids, making them homeless. Have you lost your mind?" "Diane, if you let me explain." "Explain? There is no explanation for this. You are being cruel. Those are your grandchildren. What kind of grandfather throws his own family out on the street?" "Diane, please listen. Brandon has been—" "I do not want to hear it. You are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. I am ashamed to call you my father right now." She hung up. 3 minutes later, my brother Eugene called. "Marion, I just got off the phone with Brandon. What is going on with you? Are you having some kind of breakdown?" "Eugene, I am fine. Brandon has been. Brandon said you are acting erratic, paranoid. He is worried about you. We all are. Have you seen a doctor?" "I am not the one who needs a doctor." "Marion, listen to yourself. You sound angry and confused. Maybe you need to talk to someone, a professional." He hung up too. The calls kept coming. My late wife's sister, my nephew, our pastor from the church Dorothy and I used to attend. Brandon had called everyone, told them all the same story. His father was having a mental breakdown, acting irrationally, evicting the family for no reason. Not one person asked for my side of the story. By 3 o'clock, I had 14 missed calls and 23 text messages. All of them condemning me. All of them telling me I was wrong, cruel, senile, heartless. Then Jessica went public. She posted on social media. I did not have social media accounts, but Diane called back to tell me about it. "Dad, Jessica just posted about this online. She is saying you are kicking them out. She posted pictures of the kids. It is going viral. Thousands of people are commenting. You need to fix this." I looked up Jessica's post on my computer. There it was, pictures of my grandchildren, looking sad and confused. A long caption about how her elderly father-in-law was evicting them without warning, how they had nowhere to go, how the children would be homeless. Nothing about the truth. Nothing about the theft or the lies or the $300,000 Brandon had stolen. Just a performance. A perfectly crafted victim story. The comments were vicious. Strangers calling me names, saying I should be ashamed, demanding someone call Adult Protective Services on me, calling me an elder abuser, which made no sense since I was the elder. Then someone posted my address, my actual apartment address, with a caption, "This is where the heartless father lives. Maybe someone should pay him a visit." Tuesday morning, I woke to police knocking on my door. Brandon had filed a report claiming I was mentally incompetent and a danger to myself. The officers were polite but firm. They asked me questions about my age, about my health, about my relationship with my son, about why I was evicting him. I tried to explain. I had proof of the theft. I could show them documents. They nodded and took notes, but looked at me like I was exactly what Brandon had said, a confused old man having a breakdown. Later that day, Brandon filed for an emergency restraining order. He He claimed I had threatened him and his family. He produced text messages that I had never sent, screenshots that looked like my number, but contained threats I had never made. Fabricated evidence. Wednesday, I sat in court. Brandon had a lawyer. Expensive suit, polished presentation. Where did Brandon get money for a lawyer? Oh, right, my stolen credit cards. Brandon's lawyer painted a picture of a deteriorating relationship. An elderly father who had suddenly, without explanation, decided to evict his son. Erratic behavior. Possible dementia. Concerning threats. The lawyer presented the fake text messages, showed the judge Jessica's social media post, brought character witnesses who testified that Brandon was a loving father and successful businessman who was concerned about his father's declining mental state. I sat with Thomas, trying to interject, trying to explain, but the judge kept interrupting. Mr. Marion, I understand you have concerns about your son. However, the evidence presented suggests that your actions have been sudden and extreme. I am granting a temporary restraining order. You are not to contact Brandon or Jessica, and you are not to come within 500 feet of the property at... The judge listed the address. My house. The house I had just sold. Your Honor, Thomas interjected. Mr. Marion no longer owns that property. He sold it last week. The new owners take possession in 3 weeks. The judge looked surprised. Is this true? Yes, Your Honor. The sale was legal and proper. Mr. Marion owned the property outright and had every right to sell it. The judge frowned, looked at Brandon's lawyer. Were you aware of this? No, Your Honor. This is the first we are hearing of it. The judge made some notes. The restraining order stands for now. We will have a full hearing in 2 weeks to sort this out. Until then, Mr. Marion, you are to have no contact with your son or his family. I left the courthouse feeling defeated. I had done everything legally, but somehow, I was the villain. In the parking lot, I found my car vandalized. All 4 tires slashed, windows broken, spray paint across the hood, elder abuser. I filed a police report. The officer who responded was the same one who had come to my apartment yesterday. He looked at me with something between pity and suspicion. Mr. Marion, you seem to be at the center of a lot of conflict lately. Maybe you should consider whether your actions are making things worse. I took a taxi home. It cost $43 I could barely afford. When I arrived at my apartment building, there was a news crew outside. Jessica had given them an interview. Tearful, dramatic. A heartbroken mother talking about her heartless father-in-law who was throwing her babies out onto the street. My face appeared on the evening news. Controversial eviction case raises questions about elder care and family responsibility. I watched it from my apartment. They had interviewed my neighbors, people I had known for 3 years. They said I had always seemed a bit off and kept to himself. They said they were not surprised I could do something like this. A woman from the building across the parking lot gave a statement. I always thought there was something wrong with him. Now we know. I turned off the television and sat in the dark. I had tried to do the right thing. I had tried to teach my son a lesson. I had tried to reclaim my life from someone who was stealing from me. Instead, I had become the villain in everyone's story. My family hated me. My community condemned me. Strangers sent me death threats online. Brandon had won. Even in losing the house, he had won. Because he had convinced everyone that I was the monster. I thought about Dorothy, about the promise I made, about whether she would be proud or disappointed. I honestly did not know anymore. Thursday morning, someone slipped a letter under my door. I found it when I went to get the newspaper. Plain white envelope. No return address. Inside, 3 words written in red marker. Leave our community. I sat on my couch, holding that letter, feeling every one of my 67 years pressing down on me. At 9 o'clock, I went to Thomas's office for what was supposed to be a strategy meeting. The receptionist barely looked at me. Mr. Thomas is unavailable. I have an appointment. He is unavailable. She turned back to her computer. I sat in the waiting room for 3 hours. Other clients came and went. Thomas walked past twice, saw me, looked away quickly. Finally, at noon, he came out. Marion, can we talk in my office? I followed him down the hallway. His office felt colder than usual. Marion, I need to withdraw from your case. The words hung in the air like smoke. What? I cannot represent you anymore. I am returning your retainer. Well, what is left of it after the work I have already done? Thomas, you have all my evidence against Brandon. The theft, the fraud, everything. He would not meet my eyes. Brandon's lawyer contacted me, made an offer. $50,000 to drop you as a client and not pursue the criminal charges. My stomach dropped. You took it. Marion, my firm is struggling. We have been operating at a loss for 6 months. I have 3 associates whose salaries I can barely cover. $50,000 means I can keep my business alive another quarter. So you are betraying me for money. I am making a business decision. I am sorry. I will return all your documents. But you need to find new representation. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady. You know what he did. You know he stole from me. Maybe you two should just work this out privately. Father and son. Maybe some family counseling. I will give you some referrals. I walked out without another word. For the next 2 days, I called every family lawyer in town. 9 offices. Every single one had the same response. We cannot take your case. We are not accepting new clients. This is outside our area of expertise. Brandon had gotten to them all. Poisoned the well. Made me untouchable. Friday afternoon, I found Patricia. She practiced alone. Ran her office out of a converted house on the edge of town. She was in her mid-60s, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She listened to my story for 90 minutes, without interrupting. Then she looked at the evidence I spread across her desk. This is a clear case of fraud and identity theft. Multiple felonies. Why has no one taken this? My son has been working against me. She nodded slowly. I will take your case, Marion. But I need to be honest with you. Brandon's public campaign is working. He has turned you into a villain. We need to move fast, hit hard, and show everyone the truth before the narrative becomes set in stone. What do I need to do? First, we file criminal charges immediately. Get law enforcement involved officially. Second, we go public with our evidence. Third, we prepare for Brandon to fight back hard, and he will fight back. That evening, Patricia filed a criminal complaint with the police. Identity theft, fraud, forgery. The detective assigned to the case was the same one who had taken the vandalism report on my car. He called me in for an interview Saturday morning. Mr. Marion, these are serious charges you are making against your son. They are serious crimes he committed. Brandon has filed a counter-complaint. He claims you gave him permission to use your accounts. He says the house was a gift, and you are trying to take it back illegally. He has a document here. He slid a paper across the table. A transfer of property agreement, with my signature at the bottom. I never signed this. Are you sure? It has your name, your signature. It is forged. We will need a handwriting analyst to confirm that. Until then, both cases remain open. I drove home, feeling like I was drowning. Every time I thought I had solid ground, it turned to quicksand. Monday morning, I tried to access my bank account to pay Patricia's retainer. Her fees were reasonable, but they still required money I needed to access. The bank's website showed an error message. I called customer service. Mr. Marion, your accounts have been frozen pending a fraud investigation. What investigation? Brandon Marion filed a claim that the recent house sale was unauthorized. He has provided documentation that he is the rightful owner, and he has filed an injunction claiming you sold property that was not yours to sell. That is not true. I own that house. I have the deed. Sir, until this is resolved through the courts, all accounts associated with the transaction are frozen. I am sorry. I hung up and stared at my bank balance. $312. That was all I had access to. The $2.3 million from the sale was locked. My other accounts, frozen. Everything I had was suddenly beyond my reach. I could not pay Patricia, could not pay rent, could not refill my prescriptions. That afternoon, the chest pains came back, worse this time. I drove myself to the emergency room. But when they asked for my insurance card, and I could not pay the copay, when I could not afford the medications they wanted to prescribe, the social worker pulled me aside. Mr. Marion, have you considered assisted living? There are some very nice facilities that can help with medical management and daily care. I do not need assisted living. I need access to my own money. Sometimes, as we age, financial management becomes difficult. There are resources that can help. She thought I was incompetent. Another person who believed Brandon's story. I went home with a prescription I could not fill. That evening, exhausted and defeated, I pulled out boxes from my closet. Dorothy's things. I had not been able to go through most of them after she died. Too painful. I opened a small wooden box that contained her journal. She had kept one during the last months of her life. I had read parts of it after she died, but not everything. It hurt too much. Now, I opened it to a random page. The entry was dated 8 months before she died. Brandon asked to borrow money again today. $20,000 this time. He says it is for the business, but I do not believe him. This is the 3rd time this year. Marion does not know. I told Brandon no, but he became angry. Said I did not believe in him. Marion would have given him the money without question. Maybe that is the problem. Maybe we never taught Brandon to hear no. I turned more pages. Brandon tried to get me to change the will today. He wants everything immediately, not in a trust. Says he needs it now to expand the business. I refused. Marion was at the hospital with me for chemo, so Brandon thought it was just us. He said some terrible things when I would not agree. Called me selfish. Said I was holding him back. I did not tell Marion. It would break his heart. More pages. I made Marion promise to take care of Brandon. But I am worried I said the wrong thing. Brandon is 42 years old, married, has children. He should not need taking care of. But I know Marion will give and give and give until there is nothing left. I hope Marion is strong enough to say no someday. I hope our son grows up before it is too late. The last entry about Brandon, written 2 weeks before Dorothy died. Brandon has his father's generous heart but his grandmother's entitlement. My mother-in-law always believed the world owed her something. Brandon is the same. He thinks he deserves success without earning it. I am afraid for Marion. I am afraid Brandon will bleed him dry. But I cannot tell Marion that. Not now. So I make him promise to care for Brandon. And I pray Marion understands that caring sometimes means tough love. I pray he is strong enough. I closed the journal and cried for the first time since her funeral. Dorothy knew. She knew what Brandon was, and she died hoping I would be strong enough to handle it. Sunday evening, my phone rang. Diane. Dad, we need to talk. Can we meet tomorrow? What about? Just meet me, please. 10 o'clock. The coffee shop on Maple Street. There was something different in her voice. Less anger, more uncertainty. All right, I will be there. I hung up and felt the smallest flicker of hope. But hope, I had learned, was a dangerous thing to hold on to. Monday morning was gray and cold. I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early and sat at a corner table, nursing a small black coffee I could barely afford. Diane walked in at exactly 10 o'clock. My daughter looked tired. She was 40 years old, a high school teacher, divorced, no children. We had never been as close as I wished, but I loved her deeply. She sat down across from me. No coffee, no smile. Dad, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen. I am listening. She pulled out her phone. Brandon called me Friday night. He needed money. $60,000. Said it was an emergency. Something about a business deal falling through, cash flow problems, temporary situation. My stomach tightened. I told him no. Dad, I am a teacher. I do not have $60,000. But he kept pushing, getting more desperate. And I started thinking about everything that has happened. Started asking questions. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I have been horrible to you. I believed everything Brandon told me. I did not even ask for your side. I am so sorry. Diane. No, let me finish. After I told Brandon no, I started looking into things. I called his so-called consulting business. The number goes to a voicemail that is full. I looked up his LLC registration. No activity. No clients. No revenue. I talked to Jessica's sister, and she let something slip. Brandon has not had a real job in 5 years. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small recording device. I called Brandon back yesterday, told him I might be able to help, but I needed to understand the situation better. I recorded it. Dad, I think you need to hear this. She pressed play. Brandon's voice came through, tinny but clear. Look, Diane, I am in a tight spot. Dad has completely lost it. He sold the house out from under us. We have nowhere to go. And the worst part is, once Dad is in managed care, we will have access to everything. The house sale money, his remaining accounts, everything. Jessica and I can finally live the life we deserve. But right now, we need bridge financing. Just $60,000. Once Dad is declared incompetent, which his lawyer is already working on, we will pay you back triple. My daughter's voice. What do you mean, declared incompetent? Brandon. We have a lawyer working on getting Dad into a facility. For his own good, obviously. He is not capable of managing his finances anymore. Someone needs to step in. Might as well be family, right? And between you and me, Dad has about $1.8 million left, plus the house sale money once we get that released. There is plenty for everyone. The recording ended. Diane was crying now. He was planning to have you institutionalized and steal everything. And I almost helped him. I almost believed him. I reached across the table and took her hand. You believe me now. That is what matters. What can I do? How can I help? Come with me to see my lawyer. Bring that recording. We drove to Patricia's office. She listened to the recording 3 times, making notes. This is excellent evidence. This shows intent, planning, conspiracy. Combined with the financial documents Marion has, we have a strong criminal case. What about the frozen accounts? I asked. With this recording, I can file an emergency motion to unfreeze them. A judge will see that Brandon is the one committing fraud, not you. Give me until tomorrow. Tuesday afternoon, Patricia called with good news. Judge reviewed the evidence. Your accounts are unfrozen. You have full access again. The relief was physical. I could breathe again. I immediately paid Patricia's full retainer, paid my rent, bought my medications. For the first time in days, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. Wednesday, Patricia developed a strategy. We need more. Diane's recording is great, but we need to show the full scope of Brandon's deception. Can Diane get closer to him? Wear a wire? Get him talking about the theft, the forged documents, the gambling. Gambling? I asked. You did not know? Marion. According to the credit card statements, Brandon has been making large transactions with online gambling sites. Poker, sports betting, tens of thousands of dollars. Another piece clicked into place. Diane agreed to help. For the next 3 days, she played the part of supportive sister. She met Brandon for coffee, talked with him on the phone. Each conversation, she recorded with Patricia's guidance and legal approval. Thursday, Diane got him talking about the forged checks. It was easy, Diane. Dad signs things without reading them. I just practiced his signature a few times. Friday, she asked about the credit cards. Yeah, I opened a few accounts in his name. He is old. He will not live forever. Might as well use the credit while we can. Saturday, the big one. Diane asked how Brandon planned to handle the eviction. I am not leaving that house. Let them try to force me out. I will make it so ugly, so public, that Dad will have to settle. Pay us to go away quietly. Plus, once the incompetency hearing happens, the judge will see that Dad was not mentally sound when he sold the house. We will get it reversed, or at least get a huge payout. Every word was recorded, every admission of guilt captured. Sunday, things took a turn. Jessica called Diane, panicked. Brandon is not okay. He is not sleeping. He keeps pacing around the hotel room. Keeps saying Dad will not win. I am scared, Diane. I have never seen him like this. Brandon had been posting on social media too. Increasingly erratic messages. Conspiracy theories about me. Claims that I was part of some elaborate scheme. His followers were starting to notice. Comments shifted from supportive to concerned. Is Brandon okay? This does not sound right. Someone should check on him. This seems like a mental health crisis. Monday morning, 1 week before the new owners were scheduled to take possession of the house, everything exploded. At 3 a.m, the police were called to the house. Brandon had broken in. He had keys, but it was no longer his property. The new owners had installed a security system that triggered when he entered. Police arrived to find Brandon in the master bedroom, destroying things, punching walls, screaming. They arrested him. Breaking and entering, trespassing, criminal mischief. Bail was set at $20,000. Jessica called everyone begging for bail money, called Diane, called Eugene, called people from the anniversary party. Nobody would help. They had all seen Brandon's deterioration. Nobody wanted to get involved. Sunday afternoon, Jessica called me directly. She was violating the restraining order, but she was desperate. Marion, please. I will tell you everything. Every detail. Just help Brandon. Please. Tell me first, I said. Then we will see. We met at the county jail. Public place. Patricia came as my lawyer and witness. Jessica arrived looking destroyed. No makeup. Hair unwashed. The polished woman from the anniversary party was gone. Patricia started recording. Mrs. Marion, you understand this conversation is being recorded and may be used in legal proceedings? I understand. I do not care anymore. I just need help. Tell us everything, Patricia said. Jessica took a shaky breath. Brandon has a gambling problem, a serious one. It started about 5 years ago. Online poker at first. He would win sometimes, and when he won, it felt amazing. But then, he started losing. And he kept trying to win it back. How much? I asked. Marion, Brandon lost the entire $500,000 you gave him within 6 months. The consulting business was never real. He gambled it all away. The room felt cold. For the past 4.5 years, he has been chasing those losses. Every dollar you sent, every dollar he could steal, it all went to gambling. He owes money to casinos, to online sites, to illegal bookies. How much does he owe? Jessica pulled out her phone with shaking hands, showed me messages, emails, threatening texts. $400,000 to an underground gambling operation. They said if he does not pay by the end of this month, they will hurt our family. They have already vandalized our car. Left threatening notes. One of them followed me to the grocery store and told me they knew where our children went to school. She started crying. I have been terrified for 2 years. Living with this. I played along with Brandon's lies because I was scared. I helped him steal from you because I thought if we could just get enough money, we could pay them off and be safe. But it was never enough. He always gambled it away. Patricia leaned forward. Do you have proof of these threats? Jessica showed us photos of their car with slashed tires, messages spray-painted on their garage door, emails from anonymous accounts with specific threats. Then, she showed us bank statements. Online gambling sites. Tens of thousands of dollars. Transfer after transfer after transfer. Logs from poker sites showing Brandon's activity. He would play for hours, lose thousands, then play more, trying to win it back. I wanted to leave him, Jessica said. I wanted to take the children and run. But he said if I did, the gamblers would come after me and the kids too. He said, we were all in this together. I felt trapped. I looked at this woman my son had married. She had been complicit in hurting me, yes. But she was also a victim of Brandon's addiction and lies. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because it is over. Brandon has completely broken. He is not thinking clearly anymore. The arrest pushed him over the edge, and those men, the ones he owes money to, they are not going to wait anymore. They moved up their deadline. They want the full $400,000 by Wednesday, 3 days from now. Patricia looked at me. Marion, do you want to help? I thought about Dorothy, about her journal, about tough love and enabling and the difference between helping and hurting. I need to think, I said. We left Jessica sitting at the jail. I told the guard to let Brandon know someone had posted his bail. I paid the $20,000. It was not for Brandon. It was for my grandchildren, who did not deserve to have their father in jail during all of this. Brandon was released 2 hours later. He came out looking hollow. When he saw me waiting, he stopped. I suppose you want me to thank you? No, I said. I want you to tell me the truth. All of it. No more lies. We went to Patricia's office. Diane met us there. Jessica arrived with the children, who Patricia's assistant took to a conference room with coloring books and snacks. They did not need to hear this. For 3 hours, Brandon talked. About the gambling, about the debts, about the theft, about the forged documents, about the plan to have me declared incompetent, about everything. He cried. Real tears, maybe for the first time in years. I thought if I could just win big once, I could pay everyone back and start over. But I kept losing, and I kept lying, and then I could not stop. The lies became the truth in my head. I started believing my own story. When he finished, I looked at my son, really looked at him. He was not a monster. He was sick. An addict who had destroyed everything around him trying to feed his addiction. Brandon, here is what is going to happen, I said. You are going to plead guilty to the fraud charges. You will cooperate fully with the prosecutor. Patricia has already negotiated a deal. Probation. Community service, restitution. No prison time if you comply. He nodded, numb. You are going to check into a gambling addiction treatment center. 90 days. Inpatient. I will pay for it. Dad, I am not finished. Jessica and the children will live in a rental property I will provide. 2 bedrooms, safe neighborhood. Lease paid for 1 year. After that, Jessica needs to support herself and the kids. Jessica nodded, crying. When you complete treatment, you are going to get a real job. Entry level, minimum wage if that is what it takes. You will work. You will earn. You will learn what money actually means. And you are going to pay me back. Every single penny you stole. Even if it takes the rest of your life. We will set up a payment plan. $25 a month. If that is all you can afford. But you will pay. Brandon looked broken. Why? After everything I did, why would you help me? I thought about Dorothy. About her journal, about the promise I made, and what it really meant. Because your mother made me promise to take care of you. It took me a long time to understand what that means. Taking care of you does not mean giving you everything you want. It means giving you what you need. Right now, you need consequences. You need structure. You need to hit bottom so you can rebuild yourself from the ground up. What about the gambling debts? Brandon asked. Those men are not going to wait. That is the final part, I said. You have a choice. I can give you the $400,000 to pay them off. You walk away clean. No consequences from them. His eyes lit up with desperate hope. Or, I continued, we can work with law enforcement. Use this as an opportunity to bring down an illegal gambling operation. It will be risky, but it will be right. Patricia spoke up. I have a contact at the FBI. They have been looking for a way into this particular operation for months. If Brandon cooperates, wears a wire, helps them make arrests, he could protect himself and potentially dozens of other victims. Brandon looked terrified. They will kill me. They might try, Patricia said, but you will have federal protection. And more importantly, you will be doing the right thing, maybe for the first time in a long time. I looked at my son. Your choice, Brandon. Easy money that teaches you nothing, or hard right that might save you. Brandon sat silent for a long time. Then, quietly, what would Mom want me to do? You know what she would want. He nodded slowly. The right thing. I will help the FBI. Tuesday morning, Brandon met with FBI agents. Patricia's contact was a woman named Agent Rodriguez, sharp and no-nonsense. She explained the plan. Wednesday, Brandon would meet the gambling operation representatives at the designated location. He would bring a briefcase, supposedly filled with cash. The FBI would be watching, recording, ready to move in. This is dangerous, Agent Rodriguez warned. These people are violent, but we will have you covered. Brandon looked at me. Dad, if something happens to me, nothing is going to happen. You are going to do this, and then you are going to start rebuilding your life. Wednesday arrived. I waited at the FBI field office with Diane, Jessica, and Patricia. We watched on monitors as Brandon, wearing a wire, drove to the meeting location. An abandoned warehouse on the industrial side of town. 2 men met him there. The conversation was tense. Brandon confirmed the debt. The men demanded the money. Brandon opened the briefcase to show it was empty. I do not have it, he said, but I want to set up a payment plan. The men got angry. One of them grabbed Brandon, threatened him, said his family would pay. The FBI moved in. Agents swarmed from all directions. The 2 men were arrested. Brandon stood there shaking, but he was safe. Agent Rodriguez later told us they found evidence linking those 2 men to a larger operation. Dozens of victims, money laundering, organized crime connections. Brandon's cooperation would help bring down the entire network. The following weeks were intense but productive. Brandon pled guilty to fraud charges. The judge, seeing his cooperation and genuine remorse, sentenced him to 5 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and restitution to me on a payment plan. Brandon checked into a treatment facility the next day. 90 days inpatient. I visited him twice during that time. He looked healthier each visit, clearer, more like the son I remembered from before all this started. Jessica and the children moved into the rental I provided. A modest 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. Jessica enrolled in a certification program to become a dental hygienist. Started rebuilding her own life. Diane and I had dinner every Sunday. Our relationship, damaged by years of distance and recent conflict, slowly healed. She told me she was proud of how I handled everything. That meant more than she knew. The extended family gradually learned the truth. Some apologized. Some did not. Eugene never quite admitted he was wrong, but he stopped calling me senile. My pastor came to my apartment and said he should have listened to both sides. I forgave him. 6 months later, Brandon completed treatment. He came to my apartment the day he was released. Knocked on my door, nervously. Come in, I said. He sat at my small kitchen table. The same table where I had discovered his theft all those months ago. I got a job, he said. Hardware store, on 5th Street. Stocking shelves, helping customers. $9 an hour. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. Inside was his first paycheck. He had framed it. It is not much, but I earned it. Every penny. No lies. No stealing. No gambling. Just work. I am proud of you, I said. His eyes filled with tears. I do not deserve that. No. But you are working to deserve it. That is what matters. Over the next months, I watched my son transform. He attended Gamblers Anonymous meetings religiously. 90 meetings in 90 days. Then kept going. He worked his shifts at the hardware store without complaint. He spent weekends with his children, rebuilding relationships he had damaged. 1 year after everything fell apart, we had Sunday dinner together. Not at an expensive restaurant, at my apartment. I cooked pot roast, Dorothy's recipe. Brandon, Jessica, the children, and Diane all crowded around my small table. The children told stories about school. Jessica talked about her new job, how she loved it. Diane shared news about her students. Brandon was quiet mostly, but he smiled. Real smiles. Not the fake ones from before. After dinner, Brandon helped me wash dishes. Just the two of us in my tiny kitchen. Dad, I have been making payments. $25 a month. At this rate, it will take me about 1,000 years to pay you back. I am not worried about the money. I owe you everything. Not just money. My life. My family. My second chance. You do not owe me anything except honesty and effort. You are giving me both. He dried a plate carefully. Mom would have been disappointed in me. Yes, but she would also be proud of you now. Proud that you hit bottom and chose to climb back up. That takes courage. We finished the dishes in comfortable silence. Later, as everyone was leaving, my grandchildren hugged me tight. We love you, Grandpa, they said. That night, alone in my apartment, I thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the betrayal, the anger, the fear, and finally, the healing. I thought about Dorothy and the promise I made to her. For years, I believed that taking care of Brandon meant protecting him from consequences, giving him everything he wanted, cushioning every fall. I was wrong. Real love, I learned, means allowing consequences. It means standing firm when standing firm is hardest. It means letting someone hit bottom so they can learn to climb back up on their own. I did not make Brandon homeless out of cruelty. I did it out of love. Tough love. The kind of love that says no. The kind of love that sets boundaries. The kind of love that allows failure, because failure teaches lessons that success never can. Dorothy knew this. She knew our son would need to learn the hard way, and she trusted me to be strong enough to teach him, even when it hurt both of us. The hardest part of being a parent is not providing for your children. It is knowing when to stop providing. It is knowing when helping becomes enabling. It is knowing when your greatest act of love is to let them fall and then help them learn to stand on their own. My son called me worthless. In that moment, maybe I was. Maybe I was worthless at saying no. Maybe I was worthless at setting boundaries. Maybe I was worthless at tough love. But I am not worthless anymore. And neither is he. Brandon is rebuilding his life one honest hour of work at a time. Jessica is supporting her family. My grandchildren are safe and loved. Diane and I are closer than we have been in years. And me? I am 68 years old now. I live in my modest apartment. I drive my old car. I have most of my money back, safely secured in accounts Brandon can never access. But more than that, I have my integrity. I have relationships built on truth instead of lies. I have a son who is learning to be a man worth respecting. Sometimes the hardest choices are the right ones. Sometimes love looks like cruelty until you see the results. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to fail and the opportunity to rebuild. I put a price on family, $2 million, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Because the family I have now, the honest one, the real one built on truth and effort and genuine connection, is worth more than any house, any amount of money, any inheritance I could ever leave behind. Dorothy asked me to take care of our son. It took me 67 years and $2 million to figure out what she really meant. But I finally understand. Taking care of someone means loving them enough to let them face the consequences of their choices. It means being strong enough to say no. It means allowing pain today to prevent destruction tomorrow. That is the lesson. That is what I learned. That is what I hope to pass on to my grandchildren someday. Love is not always soft. Sometimes it is hard as steel and sharp as truth, but that kind of love, the tough kind, the real kind, is the love that saves lives. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice to help someone you love? Have you ever had to be tough when every instinct told you to be soft? Have you ever had to let someone you care about face consequences, knowing it would hurt them but save them in the long run? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. Share your experience. Tell me how you handled it. Let us learn from each other. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own relationships, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button. It helps others find these stories and maybe learn something valuable. And if you want to hear more stories about real-life challenges, family struggles, and the lessons we learn along the way, please subscribe to this channel. I share these stories because I believe we all need to know we are not alone in facing difficult decisions. Finally, if you think someone in your life needs to hear this message, please share this video with them. Sometimes we all need a reminder that tough love is still love. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this community. I hope that whatever struggles you are facing, you find the strength to make the hard choices, the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to let go, and the courage to love people enough to let them grow, even when growth is painful. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And remember, sometimes the greatest act of love is having the strength to say no. Until next time,